Hi, my name is Emily Sellens, and I'm a current student at Tidewater Community College, as well as the ODU Concurrent Program. And for my professional nursing image presentation, I would like to discuss viewing nurses as leaders in the healthcare setting. I'm in my first semester of nursing school and have for the first time been able to really observe the integration between all of the healthcare professions and leadership positions that arise because of that collaboration. I've also been able to see established leadership roles in the hospital and have been able to see how often nurses are participants in those leadership roles. So to start off, I'd like to ask a simple question. Who is the first person that comes to your mind when you think leader in a hospital setting? This is going to be dependent on your role in this hospital setting. Are you the patient? Are you a professional? Some of you may answer surgeon. Some of you may answer physician. And some of you may answer nurse. Personally, based on my current educational status, I view nurses as leaders because every week at clinical, I take a lot of direction and really aspire to be like the nurse who leads me throughout my clinical sessions. But it's safe to say that everybody is not going to say nurse when they think leaders. So I'd like to first discuss barriers we as nurses have in terms of being able to achieve leadership positions. These top two bullets on this slide are things I'd like to dive into a little further throughout this presentation. One being the negative image of nursing. This has been established over and over and over again through Hollywood portrayals of nurses and just devaluation of nursing in society. There's also no visibility in policy making, which can be detrimental because nurses are such a huge percentage of healthcare workers. Other barriers include a lack of administrative support, nurses feeling devalued in a system, and a lack of structured nurse leadership pathway. So this slide, I have a graphic that demonstrates some common nursing stereotypes. Now, stereotypes act as a barrier to being able to achieve leadership positions because they make a judgment about a nurse before they have even been able to prove themselves. All of these, from the angel of mercy to the battle axe to the handmaiden to the physician, very much demonstrate low critical thinking skills, low creativity, as if they are simply just following directions ordered to them by superior people in the hospital setting, when in reality, everybody in this program knows that there is so much more to being a nurse than simply just following directions. Another bullet point on this slide is the love interest, particularly to physicians. You can name any medical drama on TV these days and see how obvious that role is played in nursing characters. You can think about Grey's Anatomy, where the surgeons are the ones who are respected the most, have the highest priority, and the nurses are simply just following the physicians around, following orders, or just being love interests. They're viewed very sexually instead of professionally. There's also a lot to say about male nurses. There is a long way to go as a society where we don't view male nurses as weak or unable to be the doctor. I'd also like to talk about statistics. My first degree was in biology, and I'm a firm believer in statistics, math, and science. Those numbers can't lie. So according to this 2014 survey, which was conducted by the American Hospital Association's Center for Healthcare Governance, they were studying the different types of clinical professions that were being represented on boards for hospitals. Now, out of 1,000 hospitals that were examined, 20% of the clinical professions that made up the boards were physicians, whereas only 5% were represented by nurses. Now, this is a problem because now we're stepping outside of just how nurses are viewed by the general public and in society and by the media, but how nurses are being seen by other clinical and professional figures. Why are nurses not being asked to be more a part of the conversation in terms of policy making when they account for a lot of care in hospital and clinical settings? This next slide, I'd like to discuss more on attributes of leadership. Now, these bullet points are from our book and are more directly geared towards leadership in nursing. So one attribute, it's based on influence in shared understandings. That is something nurses are great at doing, finding shared understandings between their patient and their patient status, what nurses need to be done in terms of procedures or other skills. That is something that nurses already hold that would propel them into being a great leader in other scenarios. Others are in an informal role. Just because you aren't designated as the leader as your title, you are responsible for advocating for your patients. You are responsible for ensuring safe care between communication of other health professionals, other nurses that you're working with. Another attribute is an achieved position through expertise in education. We all know that continuing education is the backbone of nursing in this day and age. There is a huge demand for continuing your education and continuing certifications, and with nurses already so ingrained in that kind of culture within their own profession, they would be able to easily translate that as a leader. The book also says that leadership is a part of every nurse's responsibility. I touched on that in terms of being a leader to your patient, being a real champion for patients and patient advocacy, and making sure that the healthcare they get is the best possible healthcare possible. And this requires initiative, innovation, and independent thinking. I'm sure all of us can attribute to at least one situation they've been in part of, even if you're just a first semester nursing student like me. Situations arise and you need to get creative. You need to be able to find a solution when the answer is not so blatantly obvious, or it won't be so black and white. And being able to be quick on your feet, be able to critically think, use your creativity to your advantage would make a phenomenal leader when you are presented with a group of people from different professions, different strengths, different weaknesses, being able to delegate those tasks to get a common shared goal achieved. So now I'd like to self-reflect on some characteristics you see as yourself. Do any of these characteristics, would they potentially be able to make you a great leader? How do you perceive yourself? I perceive myself as a critical thinker, passionate, hardworking, creative, enthusiastic, and even funny. I've been able to establish a very unique type of relationship as a nursing student in the clinical setting. I am currently working on my RN as well as my BSN and would like to continue my education further later on in the next few years. And I hope that these attributes that I perceive make myself and my cohort in general great nurses, that those will be able to be translated into future leadership positions within the healthcare setting so that I can be passionate and make a difference in the clinical setting. And here are my references. Thanks so much for watching.